Yo, what's going on YouTube? It's your boy Light back here with another YouTube video. And in today's video we're going to be doing Let's Talk video, and it's going to be Let's Talk about Peacemaker. The character, that is. I might talk a little bit about the show, but honestly, I think I might save that, my opinions and stuff like and such for another video. Probably possibly like closer, maybe after Fandom or DC Fandom. Technically, actually, when this video is dropping, DC Fandom actually came out. So I might have been talking about the Peacemaker show already. I don't know yet. But I do plan on making like another video talking about that. For this video, it's more so like the TV. It's more so the character. So yeah. Anyways, Peacemaker to me is just like a really interesting character, and I thought he deserves his own video. So I decided let's do it. Let's talk about him. Just quickly, I want to just say this quickly. Quick like I would say not super heavy spoilers, or actually, I'll say it's kind of like a full spoiler for the Suicide Squad. But I mean, I highly doubt if you still haven't seen the movie, you would probably and like you don't understand what happened to Peacemaker. I don't know, you've been living under a rock or something. But I mean, yeah, there's a bit of a spoiler warning for the Suicide Squad. So yeah. Anyways, let's get into it. So yeah, Peacemaker, in my personal opinion, is probably one of the most layered characters in the DCU. I think he's written pretty good. Personally, in my opinion, I know this is a very underrated opinion, but I think he's very well written. I think he's like a really written well character, really interesting character in my opinion. I'm interested to learn more about him. I'm actually pretty psyched up for the Peacemaker show. Actually, I'm pretty curious to see what goes on in it, seeing as though like what's gonna happen with the Peacemaker character and everything. Just to learn a little bit more about him, because I thought he was a pretty compelling character in the Suicide Squad movie. Again, very underrated. I mean, there's a lot of characters in that movie, so I kind of understand why he's underrated a little bit. But I mean, at the same time, he deserves a lot of credit. He's definitely an interesting character. Now, I'm not saying he's my favorite character by no means. What he does is not good. Yeah, I want to make sure that's clear. There's a difference between liking the character for well written and liking the character because you actually like the character, in terms of the fact that he's like he or she is one of your like your favorite characters or something like that. I'm saying this is more of like a well written character. But anyways, let's get into it. So yeah, Peacemaker, again, very underrated. Just an awesome character. Let's just start off with his portrayal. Now, Peacemaker wasn't really a well-known character. I'm gonna say that straight off the bat. He's not very well known. Uh, he's like one of those like I don't even know what you consider him, like C-D list characters. Very well not known. I can tell you right now, if the Suicide Squad never came out with him in it, I'm if you went around asking people, maybe one in every like 100 people would know that who Peacemaker was. Like, I'm gonna be straight up honest. I had no clue who Peacemaker was before anything for the Suicide Squad came out. So that's just that whole thing with that. But I mean, I think his portrayal is pretty interesting. I think John Cena actually does a really good job. Personally, one of my personal favorite my favorite portrayals by John Cena. Now I know John Cena is a wrestler turned actor and everything, and yeah, I grew up watching John Cena on WWE, uh, in wrestling and whatnot. At the same time, when I originally saw he's transitioning more to acting, I was just like, damn, I'm kind of a little bit annoyed. I want to see him wrestle some more or something like that. But then I was just like, yeah, maybe I'll give him a chance, watch a few of his movies and whatnot. And long story short, I didn't really like him for the most part. I thought his acting kind of sucked. But I mean, when he's Peacemaker, he's actually really good at acting. I can't even lie. He acts way, way better. I feel like you barely even notice he's John Cena when he's Peacemaker. Uh, I think he's like, honestly, in my opinion, I think he's like pretty comic accurate in terms of like the way he acts as Peacemaker and everything. Like, if you watch WWE and like you know John Cena and stuff like that, you know he's a very kind guy. Like, he's very like just a really cool guy and stuff like that and everything. And he's always about like niceness and everything. But then again, Peacemaker is just a complete like evil bad guy essentially. And like John Cena completely convinces you of that, and I think he does a really good job as Peacemaker. Just my personal opinion. Next thing again with the accuracy of the costume, I think his costume is pretty comic accurate as well. That's something I liked about the Suicide Squad. Just a quick thing. I did like how a lot uh, of how comic accurate in terms of the suits were, except for Bloodsport was a different scenario. But I mean, Peacemaker had a really good comic accurate suit. Now let's get into the writing of the character. Now, Peacemaker is definitely a very interesting character in the sense, if you kind of know him from the comics a bit, I recently like dived into his backstory a little bit more. But basically, Peacemaker uh, is not technically like he's not out to become like some sort of villain. Essentially, he believes in peace. Basically, he just thinks he needs to basically kill people in order to basically kind of like balance out the place and get peace. He's basically insane. I can't even lie. Like he has some severe mental problems. Clearly, um, in a sense. So he's again he's like more so like he's insane basically. Uh, yeah, he's basically he's very insane in the sense that he kind of wants peace in his own way. I mean, in his own like very weird way, it's kind of like a little bit. It makes a little bit of sense, but then he just decides to go a little bit insane. I mean, at the same time, it's not like he's like straight up like robbing people or something, or like robbing banks or just completely just shooting random people and killing them. He's more so kind of just trying to keep peace in his own twisted way. At the same time, he's going. Well, this is more so for comics and stuff. At the most part, he goes after people who are pretty bad people at the same time. So someone could consider him a anti-hero ish. I really wouldn't consider him an anti-hero because technically he's very insane. Uh, yeah. So that's basically that's basically what happens. That's at least what's explained in the Suicide Squad. I expect more. It'd probably go more into detail come when the Peacemaker show comes out and stuff like that. So I'm interested to maybe see some like what happens. Like there's a bunch of stuff that happens to him in the comics and stuff, which I'm not gonna really dive into because I really want to talk about like the DC version of him. So for example, so that's just one thing as well. Again, that just makes him more of like a well written character because at the same time you can kind of define him as maybe an anti hero, but more on the evilish side, or you can maybe define him as like a very bad villain. In my personal opinion, I think he's has somewhat of a point, but I would say he's more so like a villain kind of, or a very twisted anti-hero. But again, he has an interesting stuff. And I know in the Suicide Squad, again, spoilers, Rick Flag, when he decides to, of course, kill Rick Flag, of course that made everybody sad and everything, but at the same time, it was just literally like, damn, that's pretty sad. But at the same time, you kind of understand what Peacemaker is doing, why he's doing that. He's essentially doing what he believes in, which is peace. Because he knows if that, at the time, if that tape got out, there would be all, the place would just like, it just, everyone would go insane and just be, not insane, but I mean, it would be chaos basically. And he, in order to basically keep the peace, he kind of was just doing what he believed in, honestly. Uh, and that's just something that's really interesting. But I mean, at the same time, he was kind of like his mind was kind of messed up again by Amanda Waller. So I don't think he's 100% to blame for that whole thing. But that's one thing. And again, he has like again mental problems. Another thing too. Now I'm not saying his stuff is justified and whatnot. I just think again he's just a very troubled character in a sense. But I'm super interested to see kind of what happens to him in terms of exactly like his character, where his character goes in the new Peacemaker show. I have no clue if it's a prequel or it takes place after the Suicide Squad or what happens there. But I mean, yeah, because again, in the Suicide Squad, we ended up seeing him die, and Yeah, we ended up seeing him die. I'm not too sure what's going on with that. But again, I'll save that for a Peacemaker video, so it's not so close to the date of its release. That's one thing. Another thing too is honestly, when I think of Peacemaker, personally, this is just my personal opinion. I kind of think of literally U.S. Agent. I think he's a little bit similar to U.S. Agent in the sense he has like a decent heart, but at the same time he just has a weird way, very weird way of kind of showing it. At the same time, but of course, U.S. Agent is of course like much more like better in terms of like his morals and whatnot. But at the same time, Peacemaker kind of reminds me a little bit of him in terms of his like well-written character and stuff like that. So yeah. Uh, but anyways, I think Peacemaker is definitely a really interesting character. I hope we see more of him in the DCU. Apart from his TV show, maybe even like he appears in another Suicide Squad maybe movie or something. But anyways, that's basically it. Honestly, in terms of rating wise, I think he's a 10 out of 10. I think he's a really cool character. But anyways, that's pretty much it though. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next video. Peace.